ain't nothing like a funky beat.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Guapish at the Disco. As always, I'm your host, Tanner, and today I am joined by the god of metal, Jackson.
What's up? I've listened to like 2 full metal albums at this point, maybe even 3. I'm pretty high up there.
Wowza. And also joining us, the true Prince of Darkness, Tanichi.
I put the black in Black Sabbath.
Holy cow, what a great intro. And that's right, everyone. Today we are reviewing the 1970 Black Sabbath album, Paranoid. I guess we'll kick it off with overall thoughts. Let's start low and end high. Jackson, what are your thoughts?
Dude, I'm shocked you're not going to give any preamble. I guess this is the type of album where you just want to...
I mean, do you want... I do have a lengthy preamble. I was going to give it in my thing.
I see. Yeah, I know. I'll just go, I guess. So, this is a very different album than what I expected it to be, given it's heavy metal, and it just sounds like generic rock nowadays. I think the genre has just shifted so much. Like, when I hear heavy metal, this is the exact opposite of what I think of. This is like some fucking hippie rock shit that my dad listens to. That's like the mental image I have of this when I was listening to it. I know Iron Man. That was the only song I knew going into this, funnily enough. I did not know Paranoid. That was a shocker to me. I'd say like 30% of the songs I thought were fine. There was a couple that I thought were just whatever, and then there was a couple that I thought were bad that I did not particularly enjoy. So I'm pretty mixed on this overall, I would say. I don't think this is my style. I definitely like a bit more going on. It's pretty slow. It's very psychedelic feeling, like I said, like the hippie thing. It's just so much different, and like I listened to this like maybe 5 times, and my expectations were just shattered on my first listen through, and I just don't know if I recovered at the end of it.
Gotcha.
That's interesting.
Interesting. I think you're right. I should have done a preamble first, so splice this into before you talk.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, so this is widely considered to be the second true metal album ever made, the first one being Black Sabbath's first album. However, this one is considered arguably more important just because it really solidifies what metal is, and it was really interesting for me listening to it because you can really go, oh, okay, this song started this specific subgenre of metal, and this one started this specific subgenre, and even so much as like with specific riffs or even like individual guitar licks, you're like, oh, okay, this gets referenced constantly because this was just such a foundational part of the genre. Like, for example, in Iron Man, the big like one strum that it opens with at the very beginning. Yeah. That I believe that's been nicknamed the Devil's Salute. And
yeah.
Tons and tons and tons of metal songs will open with that. Like, I guess some example, like Iron Man, is that much slower, heavier sound that you would often associate with doom or sludge metal. Electric Funeral as well. And then stuff like Paranoid is much faster. You could see it definitely as being a precursor to like speed or thrash metal. And a little connection I drew that I didn't see many other people mention is with Iron Man, the interesting thing the song is doing where it's like this sort of bombastic science fiction story that's telling, where it's like a through line of a very specific guy and whatever. I very much connect that to power metal, which has a lot of science fiction or fantasy like stories where they are weaving these tales, much like this song, which I think was, if not the first to do it, definitely the most popular early example of like storytelling within songs. But yeah, I'm sure as people can tell from a bit from my preamble, I liked this album quite a bit. It is difficult, I'll say, to kind of separate out my appreciation for the impact this album had from how much I'm actually like subjectively enjoying the songs themselves. There were a couple of songs in here that like I'm not going to be listening to or revisiting often, but there are also several songs where I'm like, yeah, I'll listen to this all the time, and already have been listening to all the time, of course. Tanichi, what are your overall thoughts on the album?
So, heavy metal isn't really a big thing in the Black community, surprisingly. But even when I listened to this in high school, I still remember like my first listen through and being like, damn, this feels old. But it felt like I was like this feels like the blueprint of everything. Like, and I think that's very much what this album gives me. Like, I know it sounds like hippie music now, and I definitely get that, but I think that's just because of how metal has splintered off and become, you know, a genre within a genre within a genre that's hiding within a genre. But when you look at like the musical themes, the fucking the influence, what Ozzy's talking about, the fucking that guitar, that's heavy metal. Like, some people might do it harder, some people might do it softer, but they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, after listening to it 3 times, have that nostalgia in me where I'm in Tanner's boat now, where I'm like, damn, what this means for music definitely held this up in my head. And then I listened to it, and then I'm like, damn, there's about a good 4 or 5 songs I like. And then the rest of them, I'm like, you know, I could miss them.
Yeah.
So I think that was surprising. I had gone into this thinking, oh, I'm gonna hands down love this. You know, I'm gonna love every bit of this. And then there were things that I didn't like. I took notes individually on each of the songs, which was, again, something I don't normally fucking do anymore. But I took notes individually on all of the songs. And fucking Fairies Wear Boots, I only have 2 notes for. And it's I can't believe this is a real title. And what the fuck is this song talking about? That's it.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned sort of the things that these songs are talking about. That's another big influential thing, is it establishes the common topics that a lot of metal will focus on, being like drugs, war, and like mental insanity. I found it interesting you saying that like it sounds old because of how much you recognize it as a blueprint for future metal. Where personally, the fact it's a blueprint actually makes it sound timeless to me. But yeah, do we want to go into favorite and least favorites?
We can. We don't got anything interesting. No one particularly saw a point in a song or did some research on something they liked.
I mean, I can just talk about that while we're talking about the songs.
That's fair. Okay.
But I'm curious, Jackson, as someone who didn't really dig this album so much, what's your favorite song?
My favorite song is really kind of a toss-up. There was 3 songs that I think I like in this album.
I wonder which 3.
It can't be the first 2 and then the 4th one. That'd be fucking crazy. But I would probably say Iron Man is my favorite. I also think that's partly just because of nostalgia. It is a very iconic riff they go with. It's just a very unique sound, and it's just very catchy. Plus, I do like the section, like the midpoint, where they kind of do start speeding things up again for a bit. I think they did that on Electric Funeral too, or Hand of Doom. I don't fucking know. It's one of those 2 songs. And I just wish it kept that pace the entire time. Alas, it doesn't. But I just think Iron Man it's a fun song. I enjoy that one. My least favorite is pretty handily Planet Caravan. I really got absolutely nothing out of that song. It's very slow. Couldn't care less about that one. And some might like Rat Salad. I think the drum thing's fun, but it just feels very out of place in this album. The album as a whole feels much more like a guitar thing and like a vocals thing, and then Rat Salad is just like a fucking drum solo. And that one I wasn't a crazy big fan of either, but I would definitely say Planet Caravan's my least favorite of the options.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm there with you on the favorite. Iron Man is by far my favorite song on the album. Like I mentioned, it's like it's one of the first examples of like telling a like really straightforward story where you are focusing on this one guy and he's from the future and he comes back to warn people and then he becomes the very monster that destroys the world. It's just a really interesting piece of music for that reason. And, the vocals and the instruments help out with that a ton as well. I also think it kind of sets up what a very common cadence for metal music is going to be, where, you have like the storytelling lyrics and whatever, and then you have a guitar solo, and then you finish up with a couple more lyrics, and then you finish up with not quite a guitar solo, but some instrumentals to take out of the track. That's a very common structure you'll see in a lot of metal music. Like Jackson mentioned, obviously, the other two noteworthy songs here are Paranoid and War Pig / Luke's Wall. I really like both of those ones too. It's just Iron Man is a bit over the edge for me there. I will shout out War Pigs though. I'm on record not being a big fan of really long songs, but somehow with War Pigs, you just don't even notice that it's 7 minutes long. It like flies by, which I think is pretty impressive. My least favorite, I find Planet Caravan very interesting. I'd probably need to listen to it even more to really get a solid feel for how I think of it. But I like how it's like a really easy listen that you can just kind of relax to. But my least favorite song on the album was definitely Jack the Stripper / Fairies Wear Boots. I just felt like this was the one where like they did the least interesting stuff in. They weren't changing up the rhythm very much, and they weren't introducing a lot of different parts of licks and riffs. So I just didn't really like it. And it was also, I think if I'm remembering correctly, it was a bit on the longer side, but if it's not, then ignore that.
It's like 6 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I found it to be pretty one note, and it's longer, which is not a great combination. So that was by far my least favorite track on this album. Tanichi, what was your favorite song?
My favorite, originally it was War Pig. I like the story. I like the tone and the vibe. But I think as an adult, as I've aged, dude, Paranoid and just, I don't know, as a high schooler, I knew the history and like the overall significance of Paranoid because the band finds its placement and its name and like the overall theme of the album based off that song. They don't like it. Like the album was supposed to be based off War Pigs. So I always thought that was funny. Like the same way Kiss's I Was Made for Loving You, they hate that fucking song. And that's like one of their best songs. This song as well, like Paranoid, they wrote in 20 minutes. It reached 4 on the UK singles charts. It's the quickest hit ever fucking written. So that in mind, mixed with what the song is about, and also the little bit of like I mentioned this before, the government, or not here, but just in casual talking, like the government came down on that song because they thought Ozzy was telling his fans to end their lives at the end of that fucking song. And he had to go out and be like, no, that's not what I was saying. There are lyrics, look them up. And I always thought that was pretty funny as well, that this song is like one of the most listened to songs of this band's entire discography. There's still a misheard line in it that people don't know. I really like that. I really like this song. And then my least favorite was probably Rat Salad or the Fairies one. Fairies Got on Boots or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like it. And then Rat Salad in particular, I just don't remember very well. Because I just remember the other ones. After War Pigs, Paranoid, and Iron Man. And then a little bit of Hand of Doom, because I really liked Hand of Doom. Like, I was surprised how much I liked Hand of Doom. After that, I just was kind of like burnt out. I was like, all right, this album's really good. So I was kind of fatigued at that point. But fairies wear boots. I skip, you know? Nothing redeeming.
Yeah. I actually discovered I like Electric Funeral a decent bit. This one, much like with War Pigs, or much like with Iron Man, this one I think was really a big inspiration for the slower types of metal, like doom metal, or maybe even a bit of groove metal in there. But then it has that part right in the middle where it picks up a ton, which I think is really cool. And I just found that one really interesting to listen to, especially like this kind of plays into Jackson mentioning the psychedelic parts. The lyrics on that track, on that one and Planet Caravan, they both definitely have that very psychedelic lyrical feel where it's like colors and then nouns, and you're like, whoa, man, what does that mean?
It's also an allegory for the Cold War and like the paranoia of the Cold War, which is like, God fucking damn, like... I really like it when these metal bands get political, because I just feel like...
Dude, why would the British care about that, though? They weren't even involved.
I mean, you know, in my head, during some points, they have to really sit down and be like, damn, we kicked a lot of Scottish people out. Like, we put them on an island to die, and they didn't. And we have to live with that. You know what I mean? Like... That's got to be hard as a British person from Britain to be like, yeah, I know, but you guys were bad. Yeah, the overall...
Now we need you to keep the Indians out. Please help us.
Now we need you guys to be like our frontline people. And they're like, what the fuck? You can't have independence, by the way. We still own you. You're still criminals. The nuclear apocalypse thing I thought was pretty cool. I really like that when bands get political, because I feel like you get, like, they reach a lot, and the reaching is, like, super fucking cool. Buildings crashing down to a crackling ground, rivers turn to wood, ice melts to blood. And he's screaming that into his fucking microphone at 7 at night with 100,000 people off shrooms in his audience. Like... That's pretty fucking dope. That's metal as fuck. Like, it's the best thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, okay, there's our our favorites and least favorites. Do we have any other thoughts about this album? Any specific songs you want to mention or anything? Overall ranks.
Yeah. How long was it after Ozzy got kicked out that they produced? Like, this came out, and then how long had it been until Ozzy got kicked out? Like another album or two, right?
I have no idea.
They kicked Ozzy out, you know. After Ozzy gave this performance on this album, I would have been the band member feeding him drugs. Yeah.
I was gonna say he was probably stealing all of their drugs, so that's why they had to get rid of him.
He wouldn't even have had to steal them. You know what I mean? I'd have been like, you need more? Yeah, hold on. Just right.
Right.
Yeah, just right. I got it. Don't worry. I know that's probably like a really piece of shit thing to say. But Jesus, that motherfucker was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Biting the heads off of bats and whatnot.
I like his excuse for that. They threw a bat up there and I thought it was fake. It was moving. All right.
Yeah. All right, Jackson, kick us off. What's your overall rank for this album?
Dude, you said it in that sentence. Yeah, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10 right now. I liken this a lot to how I felt about White Pony, honestly. Another metal album that I didn't particularly jive with. I think the big thing for me is, one, I just don't get the cultural impact. I haven't listened to enough metal to see references or themes brought up by this one particularly, as I know the overarching, this song's telling a story, or, you know, something super fucking generic like that. I think some of the songs are fine. A decent amount of this I just didn't really care about at all. And this is going to sound sacrilegious, especially because the guy just fucking died, but I'm not particularly fond of Ozzy Osbourne's vocals in this. I just don't really like the style of singing, to be honest. I never really got used to it in my listening, so that definitely didn't help. I think some of the instrumentals are good, though, which is really what carried it for me. The fun instrumentals, they felt like they're just having a fun time playing
I had
songs.
that same look on my face hearing you talk about Michael Jackson. It's just so good to look at Tanner's face. I had that same look during the Michael Jackson review.
Very cringe. Tanichi, what are you ranking this album?
Dude, Everywhere I Look gave this album like a perfect fucking score. And with tracks like fucking Fairies Got on Boots, I don't know how that's possible. You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. I get the best I can give it is an 8. I think this is a really good album. I think it's missing some points, and I think it's old. I think unfortunately it being old is the reason why it sounds like hippie music, but I can't deny I've heard sort of heavier things than this. And you know, I think 8 is good as well.
It's like one of the highest scores you've ever given.
Yeah, I'd say an 8 is a pretty strong rank.
Ugh.
So strong, in fact, I also gave it an 8. I'm right there with you pretty much in all of your reasoning. I'd say half of the songs on this track are really good, and then half of them are like maybe a little less than mid.
I think he's absolutely correct. I think fucking less than mid is like a pretty good allegory for it. Like, he doesn't miss, but not every shot's a kill shot. You know what I mean?
Less than mid's what I ranked it.
Yeah. Is that?
But I will say, the fact that this album is only 48 minutes long really helps with the fact that some of the songs are much weaker. It's such a quick listen that it doesn't even bother me that much, which is why I'm still landing at an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair.
It lands at our most common rank, a 6.7 out of 10, which is the same rank as The Teller, UFO, Kven, and the Computer Circuit's Dead Decadence album.
Oh shit, Black Sabbath's Paranoid album and Shoddy Horror's The Teller are on the same fucking level.
Our rating system has no flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a perfectly fair and valid system.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please direct all of your
No, you
hate to
stupid
Jackson
fuck.
down in the comments.
I have to
And
announce my
Tanichi,
pick.
it is your turn to pick an album.
Dude,
What
hold
are
on,
you
just
going
briefly.
with?
Speaking of Tanichi, you gave the fucking Teller the same ranking as this album. Anyways, go on.
I know. I didn't think it would land that high when I originally.
Tanichi is always saying shit that doesn't line up with what his actual ranks were.
Yeah.
Last week he was complaining about like where or not last week, but 2 weeks ago he was complaining about where some album landed relative to Library of Babel, and he rated Library of Babel the lowest of all of us.
Anyways, cut that part out. That part was yapping bullshit. And I personally don't want it in the review. Dude, I forgot my fucking album pick. I'm an idiot.
Retard alert, retard
Yeah,
alert.
it's bad. Jackson, what was it?
It's some fucking, what the hell's the name of that band, dude? My first thought was Abercrombie and Fitch, but it's not that.
No, it's not. So, okay, hold on. Sorry, give it a second. All right, so my album pick this week is the Coheed and Cambria album, The Dark Sentencer. No, it's not called The Dark Sentencer. I fucked that up. It's called Pair of Unheavenly Creatures. Coheed and Cambria are a storytelling sci-fi fucking metal band from New York. I don't know.
That sounds great, and I can't wait to
their
review it.
drummers are
See you guys on the
Mexican.
next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.